Story 1. Trying to find reputable doctors, contractors, and companies is an endless nightmare every time I need something done or need a new doctor. Story 2. How much easier everything was than my parents said it would be. I am maybe lower middle class, but I have no problem paying bills. They are predictable. Rent is the same every month. I have had bosses I do not like. Not a problem. I can get a different job. Bosses are not out to get everyone. No one likes it if you show up to work drunk. School was not that hard. They tell you what to do and read. Do it. They will tell you what the test will be on. It is not a surprise. Holidays, birthdays, and the start of the school year happen every year. Again, not a surprise. Both parents were alcoholics with hidden drug problems who smoked. All their money was spent on wants, not needs. No food in the house, but always cigarettes and alcohol. I was told how hard and unpredictable living would be, how everyone would be out to get me, and that people live just to make life harder. Not true at all. Most people are good. Your boss is just a person. A small amount of planning avoids the majority of problems. I know if I can or cannot afford things and can budget and plan. You can make choices and change things you are not happy with. Story 3. Men feeling nostalgic for former girlfriends returning to see if there is still a chance. It has happened a few times. Story 4. The monotony. Get up, get dressed, go to work, come home, cook dinner, relax, take a shower, go to bed. Rinse and repeat each day. My teenage self could not wait to be an adult. He did not realize how boring it can be. Story 5. I feel like I am still a child until one day I wake up with a sore back and see my receding hairline. I realize that every day from now on will be physically worse. Story 6. Dealing with any kind of paperwork such as taxes, bills, government documents, residence permit, and job contract. Story 7. Everything honestly. It has been wild. It has me questioning why I was born in the first place. It is always something, whether it is car problems or trying to figure out what I am going to do for the rest of my life. I have way more responsibilities. 60 more years of this does not sound fun. Story 8. When I picture other people from my childhood, I still imagine the last age I saw them. My friend's little sister is still 8, not 28, I am sure. Story 9. You always have to have a plan. As a child, I did everything spontaneously. My friends and I just hung out with no plans, playing on our bikes or just on the street. Now, if I want to hang out with someone, we have to make a plan. We don't just enjoy each other's company. We have dinner or go somewhere. I miss just freestyling life. Story 10. Free will means having the ability to do absolutely anything and everything, such as calling out of work for no reason, eating ice cream for dinner, or simply driving to the beach spontaneously to watch the sunset before going home. Story 11. My health declined significantly when I turned 40. I have always been an undisciplined hedonist. I drink, smoke, and eat whatever I want, and I have always been overweight. Whenever I visited the doctor, they were amazed at how healthy I was. Blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, all those other measurements were excellent. I was in great shape. Then I turned 40. Felt like I instantly gained 100 pounds. My knees deteriorated, my back deteriorated, my blood sugar reached a dangerously high level, and my blood pressure triggered alerts. Everything hurts all the time. Story 12. Being a kid was a lot better. I always thought being an adult would be more fun, and in many ways it is, but I really miss being a carefree child. Story 13. The amount of discrimination I experience and witness has increased. When I was younger, I did not recognize it as much or did not face it as frequently in day-to-day scenarios. Story 14. How unforgiving time is. I can close my eyes and remember all the mischief I got into as a teenager, as if it happened yesterday. Then I open my eyes and realize that was more than 20 years ago. Story 15. I thought adults knew how to handle their emotions, so it catches me off guard when someone older than me loses control. Story 16. How right other adults were when I was younger and said things like, "You will understand once you are older." Story 17. Peace is ephemeral. You can spend weeks, months, or years trying to complete or overcome some trial in your life, And when you finally do, some other new life stress is almost always waiting around the corner before you even have the chance to enjoy the peace. Story 18. Nothing happens unless I make it happen, which is its own mental load to handle. Doctor's appointments, bills, groceries, laundry. Nothing magically happens by itself. Story 19. I just cannot believe that so many adults in general do not know anything about relationships and parenting, and they are having children. Story 20. My abusive father called me at my first apartment. As he was yelling at me about something my friend did a week earlier, I suddenly realized I could just hang up on him and there was nothing he could do about it. So I did. It definitely caught me off guard, but in a good way. Story 21. To live fully, you need to be able to heal yourself. Growing up with narcissistic parents, you face challenges at a young age, but as an adult, you need to truly heal to become who you want to be. This is something I am finally realizing in my 30s and am working towards. Breaking generational chains for future children is tough, but I hope I can do it. Story 22. We are all just winging it. We are two kids and a dog stacked up wearing a trench coat and paying taxes. Story 23. The world does not stop when you are going through something. You can be grieving but cannot take much time off or any off work because bills are still due. Once you graduate from school, there are no more summer vacations that last a few months in between. Story 24. When I tried the Bloody Mary mirror trick with "I need an adult," all I got was my own reflection. Story 25. There are no adults. Nobody knows what is going on. Nobody has their life together. The people running countries and economies are hopelessly corrupt, stupid, and venal. Story 26. It is a simple thing, but I remember being slightly caught off guard the first time someone called me sir in an honest, respectful manner. I suppose becoming an adult caught me off guard that day. Story 27. You do not have all the time in the world to do the things you want to do in your life. When I was a kid, the days seemed to go on forever. A year felt like a decade, and I was constantly wishing today would hurry up and finish so I could get to something I was looking forward to tomorrow. It is like I blinked and went from 18 to 50. Story 28. My brain did not change into that of an old person. I still think the same as I did when I was 16. Obviously, I have a bit more common sense, but I am basically a child walking around with a lot of responsibilities. Story 29. How much you have to work just to survive, not even getting ahead, only paying bills. Story 30. Not trying to be weird here because I remember my behavior when I was a kid, but kids discovering their sexuality is much different when you are the parent having to try and deal with this in a healthy way rather than the way I went through it. You are going to hell. Story 31. How much of your salary is taken away for all kinds of insurances, especially when you turn 25 years old? Approximately 500 to 600 Swiss francs. Story 32. I have no idea what I am doing. Marriage, a few cars, mortgage, debt, student loans, 3 children. I have no idea what I am doing. Story 33. How much effort it actually takes to maintain a mid-level physique and keep a relatively organized house. My mother's house was always clean, yet somehow I have little to no memory of ever seeing her actually cleaning it. Pounds are easy to gain and hard to lose, unless you have enough free time to pay a gym $40 per month to maybe look half decent. Story 34. Open and honest communication is hard to come by in relationships. Bottling up feelings, not talking about things that bother you, or not discussing important matters with your partner can create distance. Not knowing how to budget money properly, not understanding the importance of working on your credit score, or not fully knowing what a credit score is exactly. How to file taxes. Once you reach your 30s, it is easier to suffer a body injury, and it takes longer to heal. I twisted my knee at age 30. It took 2 years to completely heal, and I still experience pain in the knee when sitting too long. I had to sleep with an immobilizer for a very long time because I would wake up crying in the middle of the night due to the pain of bending my knee. If I had been injured in my early 20s, it would have healed within a month or two. Story 35. Realizing I was the adult hit me the hardest the time one of my children woke me up at 3 a.m. to say there was hot water coming from the ceiling in the bathroom. It turned out to be a busted flexible pipe causing the bathroom sink to spray hot water upwards. I had no idea what to do or how to stop it, but I had to act like everything was cool and completely under control. I couldn't sit on the bathroom floor, crying and freaking out while the adult fixed it for me, because I was the adult. I searched for 24-hour emergency plumbers. Story 36. I am a decade older than my siblings. I did not expect them to see me as an adult too. I knew it would happen, but still, why? It makes me unreasonably sad. Story 37. How expensive food really is. When I was a kid, if I made a mistake cooking something, I would toss it and make a new one. Now I think, damn, I burned this chicken. Well, I guess I'll just douse it in barbecue sauce to make it edible. Story 38. How one partner has to give up their life for a relationship to work. Most women have to give up their dreams and ambitions to raise a family, or one partner has to compromise their goals for the other to succeed. I rarely see relationships where both partners are able to live their lives to the fullest. Story 39. It took me a long time to live within my means and accept that by doing so, I would actually have a better quality of life. I had no idea how to budget or manage finances for about 10 years when I was just starting out. Story 40. The general amount of nonsense you have to tolerate from people at times while also being polite to them. Story 41. I think my parents did a great job of making my health issues seem not like a big deal, allowing me to view myself as a normal kid. When I became an adult and started understanding my health issues, including the terminology, I realized that I could not do everything everyone else could and that my health issues were very serious. I appreciate being able to go through childhood without thinking about it too much. However, when I became an adult and faced the reality of my situation, it hit me hard that I probably could not live a normal life because I had been preparing myself for the future in a different way. Story 42. Inside every elderly person is a young person saying, "What just happened? Who is this person in the mirror? I don't look like that. Do I? What do you mean I'm a grandparent now? Grandparents are old, like really old." Story 43. How unaware most people are. It was a scary realization leaving college, realizing most of these people have no idea what they are doing, do not have their lives together, and never will. Story 44. How hard it is to manage multiple jobs, yourself, your relationships, daily chores, and health issues when they arise. Constantly breaking down. Story 45. Nobody really has a clear direction in life. We are all just trying our best to figure it out. Story 46. How most people in any leadership role were not any smarter than anyone else. I associated position with intelligence. Story 47. How quickly time passes. Days go by slowly, years go by fast. I could have sworn it was the 1990s a decade ago. Story 48. How easy it is compared to being a child. Seriously, as long as I pay taxes and obey the law, nobody bothers me. It's amazing. My parents used to threaten me and act like adulthood was this wild and horrible experience that would make my difficult childhood pale in comparison. The reality is that being a minor is very challenging and being an adult is absolutely easier. Story 49. Random expenses arise unexpectedly. I prepare for the bills, but it seems like there are always constant things that sneak up on me. For example, I know I have to get my oil changed, but didn't I just do that? Story 50. When my parents gave me financial advice and told me to save money, I ignored them. They were completely right. Story 51. Nobody cares about you anymore after your 20s. There are many programs for children and people up to age 29. From 30 to 55, there is little support. Story 52. How much you still feel 18 until you injure yourself doing something simple and you are out of commission for a week. Story 53. How fast bills pile up and how difficult it is to catch up. I have a whole new respect for my mother when I was growing up. Story 54. Eating. How am I supposed to come up with 3 meals in a day and not spend half of my day preparing them? Story 55. When someone runs out of invitations for an event and you did not receive one, it is usually not because they ran out. It is because you were intentionally excluded or forgotten. Story 56. Some people do not actually grow up. They physically become adults but never outgrow petty, childish behavior. Story 57. How much you do not want to deal with life. I was suicidal in high school, but now it takes a different form and feeling. Story 58. Young people, when they reach adulthood, often continue to talk about the same immature topics and behave in similar ways. Story 59. About how many times we have to restart in life, social life, careers, beliefs, habits, finances, and more. Story 60. There is no roadmap, and you can do anything you want. Does anyone else follow Sailing with Phoenix? It is a perfect example. Story 61. I am a younger adult, but it always throws me off guard when friends say they are pregnant or have a child. Because some of my friends are in medical school, it is strange to hear my other friends taking the next steps in life. Like, I have to study for finals, and we are naming him Colton, are two very different statements. Story 62. Growing up poor, my family usually got secondhand, cheap furniture. The first time I had to buy a bed or a couch blew my mind. I had no idea how expensive furniture could get. The same with appliances. It was not even a grew up poor thing. It was more about the place we lived providing them. Also, maintaining friendship is hard. When you are at school, it is easy because you are actively going to where your friends are daily. But once you are an adult, you not only have to go out and hopefully find friends, but you also have to make an effort to make plans to see them, and that is when you are exhausted from work. Story 63. My parents definitely just made stuff up as life went on. There were not as many long-term plans as improvising. Story 64. How many things had to go right, and how many women and men sometimes settle with a partner? They settle because they feel like they have to. So many people are wildly unhappy. Story 65. A lot of advice from adults was actually true, but I was a dumb teenager and thought, they do not know what they are talking about, or they do not understand. When adults were also teenagers at some point. Now I feel silly. Story 66. You really need to look for that magic, wondrous feeling about things. As a child, things are new. They are easily bewildered and enchanted. Story 67. Learning that amusement ride height limits exist. Being too tall for the children's rides at Canada's Wonderland disappointed me because I do not like scary rides. Story 68. All the administration. I am 26 years old. The more I advance in life, the more complicated I feel that paperwork becomes. Story 69. In college, my brother discovered how much toilet paper costs. His best friend had Crohn's disease, so I guess they needed a lot of toilet paper. He actually said to our mom, "Do you know how expensive toilet paper is?" She was completely aware and had been buying it for him for all of his 18 years. She just smiled at him. Story 70. How easy it is to fold clothing all of a sudden. At some point halfway through being 25, it is like my brain just developed that last little bit, and now suddenly I enjoy folding stuff because it does not feel like a losing struggle. My mom has always made growing up something to look forward to. She told me and my siblings what the next stage would be in life, like suddenly getting really good balance and fine motor control at 16 or somehow understanding emotions deeper than ever before at around 21 or 22. She has not been wrong yet, and it makes even our adult years fun. Story 71. Groceries expire, so you plan weeks ahead to buy, cook, and eat them. Headache tablets should always be near your bedside table. Drinking more than 3 drinks makes the morning difficult. Relationships suffer if you do not meet in person. Calls cannot replace meetings. Story 72. My dream of being successful at my dream job, married with kids and a house by age 25, was ridiculously inaccurate. Adults have not got it all figured out and do not know how to raise perfectly well-adjusted kids. Close friends in high school take drastically different paths immediately after graduation. My 10-year high school reunion was shocking. People were now married with or without kids, divorced, had kids with different partners, still in university, moved many times, passed away, lost their looks or hair, or had gray hair coming in. They were in jobs where they were just drifting through life without direction, or they hated, loved, or were in an ambitious career well up the corporate ladder. Story 73. The isolation of living alone. It is great to have your own place. You do what you want, see who you please, and go out whenever you like for however long you like. But the days when you are just home alone, cooking for one, times when you are sick and there is no one there to care for you, or coming back to an empty house after work, it just grinds down your soul. Story 74. Realizing I have never really felt like a child after being severely neglected, so I am stuck as an adult-child hybrid. Story 75. When you are a child, they are called rules. When you are an adult, they are called laws. Adulthood does not mean freedom and no responsibilities. It is a raw deal if we are being honest. Out of student loans and treehouse homes, we would all take the latter. Story 76. How much less time there is in a day. As a child, the day feels long. School, homework, extracurricular activities, then back home again for video games or anything else. As an adult, it is work, chores sometimes, and I am exhausted already. Story 77. Everything either costs you time or money, sometimes both. For example, can I save money by doing this myself? Or is it better to hire someone who does this for a living? Story 78. In the case where the dog needs to be taken to the veterinarian to be euthanized because he is old and in pain. Heartbreaking. Story 79. How common it is for people to have affairs. When I was a child, I thought all the cheating on television shows and movies was just for dramatic effect. Then, when I started working in a call center at the age of 19, these 30-year-olds were hooking up in the supplies cupboard just like in the soap operas. I was shocked. Pretty much every place I have worked has been the same. Story 80. Almost all of my dreams involve me being back in high school. Like dreams about riding the bus, being late, or not doing homework. Real stupid dreams. I thought I would be dreaming about the future, not the past. Story 81. How corrupt everything is. One example. My energy bill went from £87 to £235 a month. And the next year they reported 10 times the profit, making over £1 billion in profits. I am just one person they did that to, and no one has said or done anything about it. Story 82. How much more attractive you become as a man. Or maybe I should say, how much more attention I have received as I have gotten older. Unfortunately, I have recently been diagnosed with George Clooney syndrome, and it is terminal. Story 83. The amount of budgeting required to make a salary last the month is impressive. I do not know how my parents did it. Story 84. Getting my first adult job at 28. Not fully realizing I had already had an adult job for years. Story 85. How many things were privileges you did not realize you had? I was born disabled and chronically ill. Growing up, my parents took me to doctors all the time. Now I am on Medicare and cannot afford the level of care I am used to, even though I am still at home because I need a caretaker. I never realized until adulthood that healthcare was not guaranteed. Story 86. It just never stops. Commute, work, commute again, try to go to the gym, shop for food, eat dinner, clean up from cooking and eating, sleep. Throughout all of this, you still have to stay on top of all your personal responsibilities. Rent, car insurance and registration, electricity bill, water bill, internet bill, and phone bill. Then you need to go to the dentist or the doctor, and they are not open on the weekend. So you have to find someone to cover for you to leave early or arrive late. If you are lucky, you get 2 days off a week and 2 to 4 weeks of annual leave a year. Your free time is quickly consumed by all these small tasks. Then the end of the year arrives, and you are another year older with not much to show for it. Story 87. My 2 grandmothers were much nicer than the average elderly woman. I am still surprised by how some elderly women can be the meanest demographic. I was friends with a senior woman for a decade. I supported her during a medical procedure and helped with snow removal. I was very upset after our last phone call because of the insults, insinuations, and accusations. Many elderly women believe they should be loved, honored, and cherished in their later years. There are many kind elderly women, which is why encountering a cruel one can be surprising. Story 88. How exhausting it is. I don't think I could have ever imagined how juggling work, home, responsibilities, bills, friends, and so on could be so mentally draining. Story 89. How constant everything is. There is always something to do, fix, plan, or worry about. No one warned me that rest would feel like a guilty luxury. Story 90. I literally have free will, and I have molded myself according to my family's expectations. I realized I do not have to put up with things or do things I do not want to do. Story 91. That I would be making dietary choices based on how what I am eating creates a comfortable bowel movement experience or not. Story 92. How easy it is to live unhealthily because there is no one to scold you or tell you what to do. I had half a cake for breakfast this morning and felt sick. It is my own fault, but it is so easily done. No one tells me to clean, eat proper meals, or go to bed. I have depression, and every day I struggle to live like a normal adult should. Story 93. I was surprised that many people are not motivated and prefer to have everything handed to them. They spend a lot of time complaining instead of taking proactive steps to improve their lives. College can be easier and more affordable if you stay within your state. Many people live beyond their means and refuse to sacrifice the present for the future. Other countries may be nice to visit, but living there is often not worth it compared to the United States. Story 94. How hard it sometimes is to get a new job, even doing something easy. For most industries, it is based on how the economy is doing and other outside factors like offshoring and the level of competition for a position, more than on you individually. Story 95. Having to figure out what to eat every day for the rest of your life, not just dinner but all meals. Story 96. Being cast aside like I am old at 30 even though I have zero wrinkles. It's ironic because all through my 20s I got no respect and was called a baby. Like what? It makes no sense, but okay. Story 97. Remembering that I have to cook something for myself so I can eat and meal prepping because I do not have the time, like my mother did, to cook every night. Story 98. Paying for things like electricity or water bills. My parents never discussed the bills, so my 18-year-old self assumed an apartment with a faucet, light switches, and outlets would include the ability to use them as part of the rent. Story 99. Nothing ever stops. Dishes, laundry, cleaning, bills, errands, working. And when you do get a day to do nothing, or if you are lucky, something you enjoy, there is still something that comes up you have to take care of. And if you are clumsy like me, you make spills and messes you have to clean. Story 100. How many people try to use and exploit you for their own gain? And unfortunately, you cannot just escape people easily. Story 101. Everybody say it with me. Bills. Not that you have to pay them, but everything that goes with them, like extra fees. Story 102. How suddenly it happens. 1 second you are at home worrying about school. The next, you are at an apartment working a 9-to-5 job and paying bills. The whole time, you do not even realize you are becoming an adult. You are just doing what you have to do to survive. Story 103. I probably still feel like a teenager because I have a younger mentality even though I am 20. I see the early 20s as teenagers 2.0. Story 104. Most relationships are based on convenience. If you leave a job, a sports league, or move to another neighborhood, there is a good chance you will not see those friends anymore. Everyone is busy and feels they have enough friends, so there is little time for more. Connections are often brief and transient. I have one close friend whom I have known for over 20 years, but everyone else has gradually drifted away. Story 105. At 4 decades, I don't feel old, but when I look at Colin, the handsome actor, and Tom Cruise, I realize no one is immune to getting old. Me too. Then health issues arise like leaking every time I sneeze. The joy of aging. Consumerism gets old after a while. Hermes or Louis Vuitton? Who cares anymore? I can afford to buy very, very important person tickets, but I want to enjoy them with people I love. Everyone is an expert at giving advice. When times are good, everyone acts confident. No heartbreak is worth stressing my body to get shingles and postherpetic neuralgia 15 years later. No guy is worth that. I'm okay with being single for the rest of my life. This is a weird concept, but getting older makes my standard simply to be competent and compatible. I think Disney put thoughts about Cinderella in my mind. I work hard, but no prince. It's okay to take a year off being unemployed if I can afford it. It's like a mini retirement. I love my family most of the time. I accept them for who they are, flaws and all. It irks me, but hey, that's life. I have no fear of death. Life is about taxes and obligations. Along the way, you find some gems like really, really great friends. Story 106. As a kid, I used to think 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds were old. Now I look at my 7-year-old niece, and maybe she thinks the same about these older people. Story 107. In my college years, I would go for random walks or drives. Nowhere to be, nowhere to go. That is a neat-looking place. Let's see what that is. No one knew where I was or what I was doing, and after a highly monitored childhood from my mother, it was bliss. Story 108. Experiencing increasingly severe symptoms of anxiety and depression over time. You would hope it gets better and easier, but it feels harder year by year. Noises outside the house cause me stress to the point that I do not want to go outside at all, which happens often when your street is full of unruly children. I do not hate children, but the ones on my street are actually unpleasant. Story 109. I thought becoming an adult would hit me like a brick. I feel no different internally than when I was 17, except my back hurts and I call my depression high-functioning burnout. Story 110. Making my own lunch. Every time I make my work lunch, I think about my childhood and how things are different now. Story 111. The adult body is a machine that depends on us fueling it with the right nutrients. Health is generally free when you are a child. You can eat unhealthy food when you are young, but as you age, you need to be mindful of nutrition, or your body will age, look, and feel unhealthy. The choice is yours. Story 112. Evidence for Islam. Islam is a monotheistic Abrahamic religion articulated by the Quran, a book considered by its followers to be the literal word of God as revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. It is the second largest religion in the world, with over 1 billion believers. The evidence for Islam includes historical, scientific, and spiritual aspects. 1. Historical evidence. The Quran provides a detailed account of historical events, many of which have been corroborated by modern archaeology and ancient texts. The preservation of the Quranic text over 1,400 years without alteration is also considered a miracle by Muslims. Scientific evidence. The Quran contains descriptions of natural phenomena that were unknown at the time of its revelation. Examples include embryonic development, the expansion of the universe, and the water cycle, which align with modern scientific understanding. Spiritual evidence. Many believers report profound personal transformations upon embracing Islam. The teachings of Islam emphasize compassion, justice, and submission to the will of God, providing a framework for ethical living. In conclusion, the evidence for Islam is multifaceted, combining scriptural integrity, alignment with scientific facts, and spiritual fulfillment. Story 113. I can never focus on today. As a child, I never thought about the past or future. It was just being present in the moment. Now I keep thinking about deadlines, tasks from work, and past relationships. Story 114. I have never thought I would make ends meet and have everything I have ever wanted, only to still feel like I am rotting from the inside out. Story 115. Preparing meals for yourself requires a significant amount of effort. When you are a child, food is cooked for you and snacks are readily available. As an adult, you must grocery shop, cook, clean, and plan what you will eat each day. Story 116. The way it never ends. Dishes, sweeping, mopping, showering, wiping down every single surface in my house, cleaning the toilet, cleaning the shower, brushing my teeth, brushing my toddler's teeth. Don't even get me started on groceries every week and dinner every night. Laundry. Story 117. The never-ending series of problems to resolve. Not literal fires, but all the unexpected issues, costs, and responsibilities. Story 118. Having to work for most of the rest of my life. I hate taking orders from people I do not respect. I hate having to answer to people. I hate being forced to wake up early. I hate doing personally meaningless activities. I hate the never-ending routine. This is the one element of adulthood that I just cannot accept, and I just want a way to survive while bypassing it. Story 119. How I pay for things I do not use often, for example, car insurance and medical insurance. As a child, I thought adults paid for these things because they occurred more frequently. Story 120. You just slowly ease into being an adult. There is not really a defining moment where you become an adult. I do not feel any different now than when I was in high school, but I have many more responsibilities. It is strange to think that I am the same age as my parents were when I was in grade school. It does not seem that long ago. Story 121. Relentlessness of responsibilities. Even on vacation, I am responsible for planning, executing, and guiding the children through it. There is no downtime. Story 122. To be honest, I guess life is what I expected it to be. But the biggest thing I've noticed in the last 5 years or so is how different my opinions and approach to life are compared to my parents. When I was in my 20s, I was trying to be like my parents. I had all of their voices and lessons in the back of my head. But the older I get, the more I realize that my inherent values are the same as my mother's, with whom I am very close. However, many of the ways I approach life are incredibly different. I have an absolutely amazing, loving mother who would jump in front of a train for me. However, as I get older and raise my own children, I realize that many of the voices in my head come directly from her and the way her parents raised her. My mother always comes from love and wants to protect me, but in doing so, she ingrained a constant focus on safety, whether it comes to physical, financial, or life experiences. Safety over adventure, safety over risk. I am not adventurous. I am not athletic because competition is hard, and I might get hurt. I am not a risk taker. Traveling is for somebody else. You need stability, security, and safety. There is nothing inherently wrong with that, except my biggest regret is that I never traveled in my 20s because I was obsessed with getting married, being loved, and being secure. I never took risks with my career because I believed university was literally the only option after high school, even though it cost me a fortune and put me into debt well into my 30s for a degree I never actually used in my career. I never played sports because I was terrified of competition, losing, and being embarrassed in front of people. I never really exercised because I felt silly and thought I was just skinny and not athletic. I did not like physical challenges because they were hard. Aside from all that, my mother lives with a mindset of scarcity. She feels guilty if she has more money than someone else. She feels guilty for buying something she really wants and can afford because she worries about what people will think. Who am I to deserve this? Who am I to think I'm better than others? This mindset has no place in my life. My husband and I are not wealthy, but we work very hard to afford the lifestyle we want. Our hard work and whatever money we have are no reflection on anyone else, none of my family or friends. I see no reason to feel guilty for spending money on things we prioritize. I also don't look down on wealthy people as my mother does. I am not threatened by them. My mother assumes that everyone who is wealthy is greedy and could not possibly be a good, giving, down-to-earth person with strong values because all they care about is money. Right now, my husband and I are better off than some people we know. My husband works with many people who are far wealthier, and honestly, I see how hard they work. I think it is great for them, and I would love to earn more money and have some of those things. But it does not put me in a pit of jealousy or negativity or cause me to judge wealthy people or think it is bad to have money. These are many of the things I grew up with, but I am realizing I am becoming my own person. I do not see eye to eye with my parents on many things, which is something I expected. Story 123. Becoming highly aware of all the injustices in the world can be a struggle, and it is important not to let it impact your mental health and outlook on life. Story 124. When I got my first decent vehicle and had money in the bank, I thought, damn, I can just go anywhere and survive right now by myself. Story 125. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have to think about what you are going to have for each meal. It is your decision, and for parents, it is your responsibility. I remember looking at my baby boy, and when he started needing actual meals, I panicked. Oh no, what do I feed this child today? Story 126. How many people around me found being an adult too hard and chose to remain children in adult bodies for the rest of their lives? Story 127. The freedom to visit Norway for 2 days cannot be stopped by anyone. I should be able to make such decisions. Story 128. You are responsible for your own future and happiness. Also, you cannot be together with your family forever. You have to part ways not just physically but also emotionally. Story 129. Being called ma'am or auntie. Yo, chill. I'm 20. We aren't there yet. In 10 years' time, yeah, now? Absolutely not. Also, the stress of money and fear of being broke is crazy. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.